The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, you know who I am. And you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? Watching us right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring Into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
Good evening, Misfits and Chickalese. How's your night going?
Tonight's show is going to be interesting. What if I told you that Medusa, you know Medusa from Greek mythology, Clash of the Titans, snake hair, turn people to stone looking at them. What if I told you that Medusa was not a monster, but Medusa was actually a victim? Some of y'all are going to have your minds blown tonight. This show is starting off our Halloween month here, and it's kind of, this one's for the ladies. Let's just say that. Because sometimes some of the left-leaning ladies that watch, they have the misconception that I am anti-woman or sexist or something like that. Nothing can be further from the truth. Society can't run without women, man. Women keep every home running, you know, and they're very, very important. And this show goes out to you guys because tonight I'm going to be pointing out I don't know if you'd call it a historical wrong. I guess so, because pop culture is still history, and myth and mythology and lore is still history in a way. So I'm going to be pointing out and attempting to correct a historical wrong that was done. Just about everything that you think that you know about the story of Medusa is wrong. It's a big statement to make. I understand that. But the issue comes with the movie Clash of the Titans. Clash of the Titans kind of really took license with the story of Medusa, and they changed a lot of things. And unfortunately, because of how popular that movie was, and I get it, I love that movie myself. But because of how popular that movie was, it's kind of shaped what everybody sees Medusa as. I mean, the other day, I went down to Walmart, and I was walking by the Halloween section there in Walmart, and there was a Medusa mask. And they had her made out like some crazy monster. And it was kind of sad to me, you know, because I've studied Greek mythology my entire life. You know, since I was a little bitty kid, everybody else was out playing on the playground. I was in the library reading books on Greek mythology. That's how much I love this stuff. So I want to share with you tonight the actual story of Medusa. And you'll find that it is not so much that she's a monster, it's that she is a massive victim. I mean, the truth of it is, there's no record in any stories, poems, anything, of Medusa ever hurting anyone while she was alive. Right? Because after she died, went to Hades, and her severed head floated around, and they used that to hurt people a lot. But while she was alive and had control over herself, she never hurt anybody at all. So let's get into this. First of all, the image that you have of Medusa is wrong. Medusa did not have a snake tail. She had normal legs like we do. It was portrayed in Clash of the Titans as her having a snake tail, but that doesn't come from the actual myths. That's something that they made up. Secondly, the snakes in her hair. Not all myths have snakes in her hair. Some do. Medusa is a Gorgon. She's one of the 3 Gorgon sisters. And as a Gorgon, some Gorgons do have snakes for hair, and sometimes they don't. It all depends on the story that you're actually reading, whether that's the case or not. Sometimes they have big like tusks, like a pig. Sometimes they have beards. Most times they have wings as well. So the snakes in the hair, maybe, maybe not, depending on what myth. There's a famous painting that's in England in a museum that captures the moment that Perseus beheads Medusa. And in that painting, she is beautiful. She has normal hair, normal legs, and she doesn't look monstrous at all. She's a beautiful, beautiful woman. And that's where I want to start tonight, because Medusa was a beautiful woman. Some say the most beautiful woman in the world. And she had people from all over the known world that would travel just to try to court her. That's how beautiful she was. And as I mentioned before, she was one of the 3 Gorgon sisters. Her other 2 sisters were both immortals. And they lived, they come from the ocean, essentially. Okay? That's where most of her family was down deep, deep in the depths of the ocean. But she didn't live in the ocean. She was raised on land with her 2 sisters who came up to raise her and hang out with her. And her 2 Gorgon sisters loved her more than anything. But she did not look like they did. First of all, they were immortal. Okay, they couldn't die of old age or anything. They were immortal. She was a normal mortal woman. Okay, she was their sister, but she was not immortal. She was a normal mortal. So she grew old, she changed, all that kind of stuff. They didn't. So right away there was that feeling of separation that she would naturally feel, but her sisters loved her. And having a mortal sister changed their viewpoint on life completely, because it's kind of hard to pay attention or give a damn about the lives of normal human beings when in relative span to your life, their life is, a snap of the fingers, because you don't die. You're immortal. You last thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They last 30 or 40 if they're lucky back then. So it kind of changed the way they looked at the world. And they respected and loved Medusa a lot. Now, as I said before, Medusa was a beautiful woman. So she had suitors coming from all over the known world to try to hook up with her and to marry her. One particular suitor that Medusa really caught his eye was Poseidon. Now, Poseidon was the god of the sea, as many of you already know. And being that her family was from the sea, he was kind of in charge of the Gorgons. So they were supposed to listen to him. So he kind of saw Medusa and he was like, damn, I want to get some of that, right? I want to hook up with this chick. So he called out to her, and the way they call out in a lot of these old poems and stuff, it's kind of a romantic, metaphorical kind of way. It's kind of cool. The way he did it was through the waves. Like every time a wave would crash, it would carry a message. And through like conch shells, she would pick up a conch shell and listen to it, and it would have his voice in it telling her that he wanted her to come down and see him. So basically, she got the message, but she was not interested. She was not into Poseidon at all. Poseidon scared the ever-loving hell out of her, and she didn't want nothing to do with the dude. So she just ignored it. And she figured that she would seek refuge in the temple of Athena. Now, Athena was Poseidon's niece, okay? She's also a goddess. And Medusa went to the temple of Athena and was worshiping Athena at the temple. And Poseidon got tired of being ignored. I mean, he's like, dude, I'm the boss here, man. I'm in charge. And you're going to ignore me, act like I don't talk? Nah, he wasn't having it. So he decided he was going to pay her a visit. Now, in Greek mythology, Roman mythology, a lot of the mythologies and the lores, even going back to like Mesopotamia and Samaria, all the old lores. In all of those, the gods all act the same way, basically. They're all a bunch of horny bastards that want nothing more than to indulge their own lust and their own appetites. And they don't give a damn about human beings. They don't give a damn about how you feel, what you want, anything like that. Also, Poseidon was way more powerful than Athena, so he really didn't give a damn that she was in Athena's temple either. He was going to march right in there because what could Athena do about it? So that's what he did. He showed up and he just marched right into the temple. And he proceeded, now, warning, before I say this and get into this story, this gets intense, okay? This has some themes that aren't for children, okay? This is not story time around the campfire. This is some adult stuff we're getting ready to talk about here. So if that offends you and you can't handle that, by all means, please go click another video and enjoy something else. Enjoy another one of our shows. I don't hold nothing against you. I just want to warn you ahead of time before I get into this. It's going to get real, okay? All right, so with that out of the way, here we go. He marches into the temple, and he rapes the ever-loving hell out of Medusa as much as he wants. Leaves her a broken shell on the floor and just marches out like he owns the joint. So Medusa was severely victimized. So her sisters gather her up and they take her home. And they're trying to console her because she's visibly shaken, visibly upset. I mean, you can imagine she's just been raped savagely by Poseidon. So she is not in a good space. She's really upset, crying, hysterical, scared to death that he's going to do it again. And what are you going to do? You can't stop him. He's the god of the sea. He's way more powerful than you. There's nothing you can do about it. If he wants to do it, he's going to do it. And nobody can help you. So she is really freaked out. Her sisters are trying to console her, and the next day, she's still upset. They're talking to her and hugging her and loving on her, trying to calm her down and get her chilled out. Well, Athena comes a-knocking, because Athena was awful pissed off that happened in her temple. But she couldn't do nothing about it with Poseidon, because Poseidon was her uncle, and Poseidon was way more powerful than she was. And if she tried to step up to him, she's just going to get destroyed. So she figured, well, I can't punish Poseidon, so I'm going to punish this mortal that did this in my temple. You know, because in her view, Medusa profaned her temple by what happened there. So she kind of sneaks up behind him and she curses Medusa. And this is where the story kind of goes haywire a little bit. Goes in a couple different directions. Some people say that at that point, that is where she got the ability to turn people into stone by looking at them. Some people say that's something that Gorgons always were able to do. They just chose not to sometimes. I think that's kind of a weak argument. I think that she lived her whole life without doing that. So if it was something that all Gorgons can do, there'd be no reason for her to leave her sisters, who she loved dearly, and go off by herself, which she does. So I don't think that it's something that Gorgons always had. I think it was part of her curse. Some people also say this is where her hair turned to snakes to make her ugly, so that she wasn't the beautiful woman anymore. Some people say that I mentioned that painting that has her just beautiful as can be, no snakes at all. But in some stories, she does have snakes for hair. So I would say probably, if you just go with the majority of the myths and the poems and the stories and the plays, I think that most likely when Athena cursed her, she developed the ability to turn people to stone by looking at them. I wouldn't necessarily call it an ability. It's not a good thing. It's kind of a curse. And also, she kind of got a little uglier, and the snakes in her hair. So she gets cursed. So she gets victimized a second time. So not only was she victimized in the temple by Poseidon, but now she's being punished for being victimized in the temple by Poseidon, by being cursed. So that's her second punishment. She still hasn't done a damn thing wrong, other than ignore Poseidon when he tried to call her up for a booty call, because she didn't want to do that. But because she's a woman and she's a mortal, she has no say in her own body or her own life. So she just has to do what she's told, and because she didn't, it's her fault, right? Not me saying that. Remember, I'm the one that called her a victim in the beginning. That was the thought then by those people. So, she's victimized a second time. She becomes aware that if she looks at somebody, she'll turn them to stone. So, she doesn't want that to happen to her sisters because she loves her sisters to death. Man, they're everything to her. So she goes off on her own and is isolated, away from everybody that loves her, everybody that cared about her. Now, they don't mention this as the punishment, but to me, that's the third punishment right there already. She's being victimized again because now she has to leave the only people in life that have ever truly loved her and been there for her sisters, to go off on her own, because if she looks at her sisters, she'll turn them to stone. So to me, that's the third time now that she's been victimized. So she goes off and she lives by herself for a while. Now let's skip ahead in the story a little bit because it's fairly uneventful until Perseus gets in the picture. Now Perseus, you remember from the movie, had all those gifts. He had like the helmet of Hades that made him invisible. He had the sandals of Hermes that made him run real fast. He had the sword and the shield. He had all that, right? He had all this cool stuff from the gods. And they sent him on this quest to do all these things to win the hand of Andromeda. So he's going out to do this quest. He's thinking to win the hand of this chick that he digs. But I think that the gods had an ulterior motive, mainly Athena. Kind of was chatting behind the scenes and setting all this up because she still isn't satisfied with what happened to Medusa yet. She hasn't paid enough in her eyes. My own personal opinion. So, for whatever reason, the gods sent Perseus on this quest, and one of the things on his quest is that he has to bring back the head of a Gorgon. Now, he would much rather kill one of the other two Gorgons because they're a lot less dangerous. They can't turn you to stone by looking at you like Medusa can, right? So he's kind of scared to go mess with Medusa. He don't want to mess with her. But he finds out that the other two are immortal, so he can't kill them. He can't cut their heads off and take them because they're immortal. So he says, well, hell, that ain't going to work. There's only one left. There's only one Gorgon that I can actually kill, who's a mortal woman that I can actually behead and bring the head back. So that's what he does. He finds out where she is, and he goes and finds her. Now, in the movie, she's kind of scary, monster-like, and she has a snake tail and the bow, and she's a predator. She's a badass. And he's scared. He has to use the shield as a reflection and all this kind. He's worried, right, about going there and facing her because she's so scary, and she almost gets him before he finally gets her. It's not how it actually happened in the myth. The myth is much more tragic and much less action-packed. Basically what happened was he showed up and she was asleep. So he just stood over top of her with a sword, getting ready to chop her head off. And he looked down upon her and he said, well, this isn't a monster at all, man. It's a beautiful young woman laying there. And he felt bad. He can't do this. You don't want to cut this chick's head off. She's a wonderful, beautiful woman. There's nothing wrong with her. She's not a monster. And she'd never hurt anybody. Remember that. Up to this point, never hurt anybody. Didn't do anything wrong. She was victimized by Poseidon, sexually assaulted in the temple of Athena. Then Athena cursed her. And then she had to leave her sisters. Still hasn't done anything wrong. Doesn't deserve any of this crap. Just laying there asleep, not hurting nobody. And he comes up with a sword. He's going to chop her head off. But he feels bad. So he consults with the muses. Now, when he consults with the muses, in the movie, it's the three old people with the one eye. They pass back and forth. In the myths, the muses are kind of like that too, but he doesn't have to travel to a cave to meet them before the quest. He actually can kind of psychically talk to them. His mind is whisked away from the moment, and time kind of freezes, and he can go and sit and consult with them as long as he wants, and then come back, and time starts up again. So it's like he never left. Right? And as far as everybody there would know, in the blink of an eye, he was there and back. But he went for quite a while and talked to the muses. And he was trying to come up with some other way that he could complete this quest and do what he had to do without hurting this girl, because she was beautiful, and she wasn't a monster, and he didn't feel right about it. But in the end, he found out he had no choice. If he wanted to complete the quest and do, at this point, what the gods were commanding him to do, then he better do it. So he did. While she was sleeping, he cut off her head and brought it back. Now, that painting I was talking about, it's actually on a big old vase in a museum in England. And the painting kind of captures the scene perfectly, because when you look at all the statues and the paintings and stuff like that from Greek mythology, you have like Hercules, you have Jason from Jason the Argonauts, all that stuff, right? They're all like heroic, and they're fighting, and they're and they're happy, and they're heroic. Perseus, not heroic, and he doesn't look heroic in that painting. His face is it's not even sad, which is even worse. It's not happy, it's not sad. He's just got like a blank look on his face, like resignation, just shock and resignation. Like, I can't believe that I have to do this. But he has to do this. So if you get a chance, check out that painting, man. I'm pretty sure you can look at it online. It really captures the moment. So he does the deed. He kills her while she's sleeping, and he takes her head back and blah, blah, blah. He completes the quest. The actual story is different from the Clash of the Titans, but I'm not trying to do a show on the Clash of the Titans right now. We're doing a show on Medusa, so we'll leave it at that. He cuts her head off. So when she dies, she ends up in the underworld, and they use her head in the underworld to punish people that go to Hades. So her head will fly around independent of its body, and will turn people to stone, and will torture people, and do all kinds of horrible things. Okay, now that might sound far out and weird to you, but believe it or not, that is a very, very common way that Gorgons were portrayed, all the way back to the very earliest records of Gorgons in myth. And the weird thing is, it wasn't just Greek mythology that did it. Okay, in the mythology of Mesopotamia, in the mythology of ancient Samaria, all of the old mythologies all over the world, even the Aztecs, they have some sort of floating head that just floats around. And it's displayed throughout their statues, throughout their symbology. A lot of them would have Gorgon heads on their shields. And actually, in Greek, the translation for Medusa in the Greek is a protector, right? So Medusa literally in Greek is a protector. And that's how Gorgons were viewed in most of Greek mythology and the old lore, was as a symbol of protection, because they would protect you, in battle and stuff like that. But all different mythologies around the world have this floating head that floats around, and in most of them it looks about the same. It's kind of fat and round. It doesn't look like a normal human head. It's bigger and rounder, and it has, some of them have like tusks and beard and long hair. Some of them have like wings coming out the side of them, because remember, the Gorgon was a winged creature, and when you're not showing the body, you kind of got to symbolize that the body has wings. So it would have kind of wings coming out the base of the head there. But most cultures throughout history have that same symbology, which is very, very interesting and strange. It makes me wonder if there was something that actually existed that looked like that. I'm not saying just a head floating around, but maybe it was like a bat or some sort of prehistoric creature that resembles a bat that had wings that would fly, and it was just a big fat body that just looked like a head, but it was actually a head and body, but the body was very, very small, but the head was very big maybe, and it flew around and bothered people and scared people, and it was all scary looking, and maybe that's where that idea came from. Who knows? But it's interesting to me that most cultures in the world have that floating, scary-ass head as part of their mythology. So when she's in Hades, she's used to torture and to hurt people. not in control anymore. Okay, she has absolutely no say in the matter. She's not in control of her head anymore. Her head is a tool that's being used to hurt people. While she was alive, never hurt anybody. Was just a victim. 4-time victim, really, because you got Poseidon victimized her. Athena victimized her. Then she had to leave her sisters and go off on her own. That's a form of victimization as well, I would say. That's a punishment. And then in the end, whether it was Athena or whether it was Zeus, who just didn't give a damn about her and wanted Perseus to do something cool to earn fame, who knows? There's different motivations in different stories, but that's another time when she's victimized and punished with her death. And really, in all reality, you could say that when they use her severed head in Hades to torture people and to hurt people, that's another form of victimization, because that's not who she was in life. She never hurt anybody, so she definitely wouldn't be flying around the underworld hurting innocent people that never did nothing to her. You know, that's just not the way she was. So that's another victimization, another punishment in my mind. So that's a 5-time punishment that she received. And she didn't commit any crime. She didn't do anything wrong, as far as I can see. And I've never heard anybody say that she has in the ancient sources. You know, most times she's described as a beautiful woman. She wasn't a monster at all. She was just like the first ever, I'm not going to say the first ever rape victim, because I'm sure there was women that got raped before Medusa, but the first ever in the mythologies and the stories of the ancient world, the first case of a woman that got victimized like that and then blamed for it. It was her fault. That's what they said. It ain't right, you know? And I had this debate with my wife all the time, because my wife tells me about how women are still victimized and how it's not a level playing field and all that kind of stuff, right? And I can see what she's saying to a point. You know, it's a lot better than it used to be, I'll tell you that. But something like this, it's a clear-cut case of just being completely wronged. I mean, she was victimized. There's no other way around it. She didn't deserve what happened to her. Now, you might say, James, Medusa wasn't a real person. It's just a myth, bro. You know, it's not like a real person had that happen to him. Yes, Medusa's a myth, most likely. Might be based on a real story. A lot of this stuff was, you know. Yes, it would be exaggerated. Yes, it would be embellished, but a lot of it was based on real stories, real things that happened. You know, like maybe she was victimized like that. Maybe she was a real person and she was victimized like that. She was very beautiful. And the attack was so violent and so savage that it disfigured her and made her ugly. And maybe people thought she was so ugly that she could turn you to stone if you looked at her. You know, that could be an origin of the story. You never know. You know, that's the kind of stuff that wouldn't surprise me for the way those people acted and the way they treated women at that time. So basically, that's the story of Medusa. She wasn't a monster. She was a victim. And knowing that, I don't think knowing that makes the story any less scary. I think in all reality, it makes it more scary than thinking of this monster Medusa that is crazy evil and crazy violent and can turn you to stone by looking at you, and snake tail, snake head, and shooting arrows and killing people. I mean, that's a scary monster, right? But the real story is so much scarier, because here you have an innocent, weak woman that defend herself against her attacker. Now, granted, you could be Ronda Rousey. You ain't defending yourself against God. I mean, it's just not going to happen, right? If a God comes for you, you don't have the power in the human body to fight Poseidon, okay? So any woman, any man, for that matter, would be weak compared to the power of Poseidon. I mean, the other gods, the lesser gods were weak compared to Poseidon. That's why Athena didn't do anything, because she didn't want to get her ass whipped. You know, Poseidon would have destroyed her. So she wouldn't even step up. And there was a human on Earth that could take on Athena. So, but it's just, it's upsetting. You know, it's upsetting. The story is, and it's scarier because you put yourself in that position of the main character, and you're like, wow, man, that sucks. And then you kind of take that and you equate it to your own life and your own experiences. I mean, yes, we don't have Poseidon running around and doing horrible things to people, but we do have powerful entities in our country and in our world that victimize us every day. You know, our government, for example, is kind of on that level of a Poseidon, where they could pretty much do whatever the hell they want to you, and there's not a whole hell of a lot you can do about it. I mean, in the old days when I was coming up, you had the law. You had the Constitution. That stopped them from doing all these horrible things to you. But they just don't give a damn about the Constitution anymore. And what are you going to do about it? You know? You try voting them out. You can't do that. They just cheat. Doesn't matter. You try doing it through the courts. They own the courts. Look what's happening now. Anybody that thinks the justice system in America is on the level, you're nuts. So you got no refuge in the courts. You're not strong enough to take them on. Not one of you. All of us together could, but hell, you can't even get all the people in the country to agree on anything. I bet you couldn't even get everybody in the country to agree that grass is green and the sky is blue. You'd have some idiots out there that want to argue with you. And I'm sure they'd do it on Facebook or something, and they type these stupid comments trying to make themselves look smart, and they misspell half the damn words, and you wouldn't know what the hell they're trying to say, and they just look like an idiot. That's our world now, guys. So, this story, this myth, is ancient. It's one of the earliest myths. But it's still relevant. It's relevant to what's going on today in our lives. It's relevant really to the struggle that a lot of women still go through today, where you got some guy that's stalking you, who has the hots for you. You're not interested. You try to get rid of him. You try to duck him, dodge him. Doesn't work. He keeps stalking you. You even go to the law. You go to everybody. They give you a restraining order that's just a piece of paper that don't make no damn difference. And all these cases end up the same. Almost every time. You see it all the time on these shows like on Discovery and all of that, where they got the true crime stuff. The woman was stalked. The woman was treated badly. She was scared. She went for help. They gave her a restraining order. Guy didn't care. He went right through the restraining order like it wasn't even there. He didn't give a damn. And every single time, the woman ends up dead. It's what always happens. And it's a shame, and it's sad. It's sad if women can't feel safe in their own country. That's a terrible, terrible thing. So, I need to close this because old boy's still got to go, and I've been jammering for a long, long time. But, in closing my little half to throw to him, I want to say this. If you ever see me out in public somewhere, and you're a woman and you're afraid for your safety, for any reason, if you got some guy following you, you got something like that going on, if you're scared, I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you permission. You walk right up to me. Look me dead in the eyes and you tell me what's going on. And I give you my word. He will not hurt you while I'm there. I will make sure you get somewhere safe. Because I think it's a damn shame that stuff like that's going on, and it pisses me off. And I would rather enjoy beating the ever-loving hell out of somebody that's trying to victimize a woman like that, because it ain't right. So, with that being said, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I hope that you enjoyed the actual story of Medusa. Let me know down in the comments section when this hits YouTube what you guys thought of it. And I'm going to throw over to Old Boy and let him give his, whatever it is now, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I've talked a lot. Whatever it is, let him talk. And then whenever he's done, he'll throw back over to me, and then I will close this show out. So I'll see you on the other side. Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
Hey guys, and good evening. I hope you like this one. It's a little bit different. It's about Medusa. I'm not going to be doing a long because I'm still kind of, if you can hear how I sound, I'm still been fighting allergies really bad. I think I got hay fever. I felt good for a couple days, and then I started getting this crap again. So bear with me if my voice sounds congested. I'm trying to get through it because I missed the last 2 weeks, guys, and I wasn't going to miss another week. So Medusa was raped by Poseidon in Athena's temple, and she punished her and made it where anybody looked at her that she would turn them in stone. She was actually a very beautiful woman, Medusa, and was punished with snakes coming out her head, and if you stared at her, she was so ugly you turned to stone. And I don't know if you guys watched the movies about her, Clash of the Titans, the old school one, and I know the new one too. The same thing. He goes there, and Perseus, and he goes there and cuts the head off, and he turns the Kraken into stone because that's the only thing that can kill it. Titan versus Titan. There's other movies. The Gargan, the Gargan, I think it is. It's the Gorgon, or the Gorgon. That's it, the Gorgon. It was a Hammer movie about Medusa, and she's like turns people into stone. It was really cool movie. I watched that the other day. There's a lot of stuff about Medusa, guys, and I'll get to that. Do I think it's real? Because a lot of people think there's a chance she was a real person, and maybe she was. I'm not going to say that she wasn't. I'm not going to sit here and say anything to say not true, but it is, Greek gods and stuff like that. It's one of my favorite stories because I like that. I love the Clash of the Titans, Jason the Argonauts, the new Clash of the Titans. What is the second one? That one was pretty cool. I like those kind of movies. I always have. I like that kind of fiction, like the Minotaur and the gods and the Hydra and the Golden Fleece, where if it healed any kind of wound. That's what Jason the Argonauts. I love that movie. That movie's great. The Clash of the Titans was great in the 80s. I like the newer ones too. There's pretty cool. And there's Perseus, the Lightning Thief. There's two. Then there's the sea monsters. I don't know. And they're doing the TV show on Disney in December. I saw that Edge is going to be in it, aka Adam Copeland. Now he's in AEW. If you're a wrestling fan, you know what I'm talking about. He's going to play Ares, and it looks pretty cool. I'm going to watch it. But back to the point. Medusa, wasn't she real? No, I don't think she was. I think it was myth. Maybe she was a person at the time, and they just added to the story. But it's not impossible. I think that's messed up. Poseidon did that. But you know what? That's Greek mythology, man. Zeus did that all the time. He would sneak into people's, especially women, he would sneak in there and impregnate them, and they would have that's what Perseus and Hercules were half gods. A lot of them did that. And then like Hera would get pissed off and go after Hercules. Like if you ever watched Kevin Sorbo and Hercules the series, she would go after him, try to kill him. She killed his family or turned him to stone or something. And he was sitting there trying to fight her all the time. She always have different monsters and people trying to capture him and kill him. I like that show. It was pretty cool. Kevin Sorbo was a pretty cool guy. I used to watch that show. And then he was also in, Xena. That was a cool show too. Xena Warrior Princess. He also, I think he did Kroll the Conqueror. That was right. That was like the prequel to the Conan movies, and he was Conan's grandfather or dad. I forget what it was. It was a pretty good show. I like that movie too. I know a lot of people aren't, but I like. So you guys know, I like this kind of stuff. I love fantasy. James is more of the history. He's going to tell you more about it. I'm a big fantasy horror guy, and I like sci-fi too. I love sci-fi also. But I love Greek mythology. I like Nordic too. I like the monsters in it. Especially Medusa. I always thought she was pretty cool. How she turned people to stone, and they made her look like a ugly half human, half snake. It had snakes in her head, and she slithered around. It was pretty cool. Like in the in the movies of Jason and the Argonauts and God, what was it? Not Jason Argonaut, sorry guys. Clash of the Titans 1 and 2. They also made another one where she was in it, but I forget what it was. I think it was like a Hercules movie. They had her in there. It was all generic looking. It was kind of funny. The Gorgon is pretty cool. What do you think? Do you think that's possible? She really existed, or she really did get, in the story, she really got punished for being sexually assaulted? I don't even want to say rape, but she was raped, sexually assaulted, and I don't want to offend anybody because I hate rapists. And that's the only thing that's sad about this is she got punished for something she didn't do because it was in somebody's temple, Athena's. And it makes no sense because she was scared of Poseidon. She was scared of him and didn't want to say nothing about it, and sounds familiar. It's always somebody who wants to let somebody get away with something. And like I said, always tell the truth on stuff. Especially those kind of issues. Sad. And that's happened a lot. It wasn't just her who got punished. Like, people did certain things, they got punished if they didn't do what they were supposed to. And some people even turned down Zeus, and he would punish them, and other gods. Or he would drug them or put them under a spell. He would do, and he even did it to some of the goddess and goddess. I don't think he did it to gods. I don't know. Maybe he did. You never know. I don't think he cared. He did whatever he wanted. He probably slept with anybody he wanted, and that's just what happened. Especially in that time, a lot of people like that. Pretty much no different than today. We have a lot of stuff that goes on, and I trust me. I don't care what you do in your own bedroom or wherever you do and whatever you believe in. As long as you're cool with other people and you let people be who they want to be, and that's all that matters. Let them live their life. But Medusa was always a cool story. And again, they made her look like a monster. And she turned everybody to stone. And, Perseus cut her head off and had to, turn things to stone. And in the thing, she wasn't turned to a monster. She got her head chopped off. And it was used to punish people in the underworld with Hades and stuff like that. So I was reading a little bit about that. Could be a possibility on that, what a way to punish somebody. Turn them into stone like every 100 years and then turn them back and just to do it again. That'd be a hell of a punishment. Imagine if you got turned to stone and you didn't die and you were just stuck there frozen. Like you can't do anything. It's like a hell. Maybe that's what hell is. Maybe you get stuck standing still forever for eternity and you never do anything. Just stand there. That would be a pretty bad punishment, guys. What do you think? That would be pretty messed up. Like I said, bear with me because it's hard for me to breathe right now. My nose is so congested. I feel bad. You guys probably listen to the show. This guy fucking sucks. No, bro. I've been fighting this for 2 weeks. Like a week and a half. It started hitting me on that Wednesday or Thursday, a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago. And it went away for a little bit and it kept coming back and forth. It's really ridiculous cold. It's not a cold. I'm not coughing. I'm just constantly sneezing. I took some Benadryl earlier and I've been fighting it with that, but it's a pain in the ass, dude. I hate when the weather changes. My allergies flare up bad. But back to the story. I don't want to get on to that. No one cares. See, like, if you guys ever watched Jason the Argonaut, like, if you remember, like, Jason's was, his sister prayed for him and his other sister, and the guy came, I forget what his name was, the king at the time who raided, at the time he raided some Sicily, I think I'm saying Sicily, that's what it is, and wasn't supposed to, and she prayed to Hera, and he killed the baby, but Hera hid Jason, or somebody took, one of the soldiers took Jason, and it was really ended up being the god who runs. God, I forget his name. He's one of my favorites too. It wasn't Apollo. You probably know who he is. God, I'm sorry, I'm horrible with names, guys. I'll think about it, but he was really fast, kind of like the Flash. Took him and he pretended to be something else for a while. Then he introduced himself to Jason, and the guy got punished. But the guy said in 20 years, Jason will come to destroy you. And Jason saves him because he gets pulled in the water, and the guy and the Hera at the time was pretending to be like a person in a hood. Told him a person with one sandal. I guess when he saved the king, he lost a sandal, and he saw that. So he takes him back to camp, not realizing who he is. And they were going to kill him. They go, if I kill him, I kill myself. So he sends him to get the fleece, and all over the other side of the world. So, and then the Hydra was in there with 7 heads. That was cool. I like I said, I know this ain't about Medusa, but it's, Greek mythology, and we can lead up to other shows we can do on it. And it was always one of my favorite movies. I love watching it. Every time it comes on, I bought it. So, I got all the Clash of the Titans movies with Medusa and stuff. I don't know how we're going to do a whole show about this, but we could have done it about other Greek mythology creatures and legends and stuff like that. But it sets it up for more. But yeah, she was pretty cool. I always liked how they portrayed her in the Jason the Argonaut movie, and not Jason. I keep saying that, yeah. God, slap me, guys. See, I'm so out of it still. Clash of the Titans. I think they even did it in Percy. They copied the same thing, Medusa's head or something. I don't remember. I haven't seen them for a while, both of those movies. I know they made books. I know they have a couple books. I think the new series is going to be off the books. I hope so, because I actually like the books. I read a couple of them. I know the movies, the first one was good. The second one was such a bad flop. They haven't done it. They were supposed to make another one. They never did. It was supposed to be like a series of movies, but it never happened. I think what it is a lot of people, that kind of movie doesn't really make it no more. Like Percy's going to be cool because it's going to be on the Disney Channel, so kids are going to watch it. But there's some people who like that, but a lot of people like horror movies, especially crazy things and out of this mind kind of stuff. And if it is sci-fi, it's always aliens or comedy or action. People like that kind of stuff. And if it is like zombie, it's always apocalyptic world. There's so many zombie movies shows and movies and crap out there. It's pretty cool when stuff comes along like that, because I like those kind of creatures. I've always wanted, I don't know, maybe I lived in that era at a different time and I saw these creatures. Like the Minotaur and the Hydra and Medusa, Pegasus, who else was there? The Harpies. There's all kinds of creatures were there. But those are the main ones that everybody knows of. All the Cyclops and the Titans and the gods. It's just always been pretty cool to me. I've always been very interested in that. I like that kind of life. I love that era, especially around that time. And I like the medieval time, somewhere around there too. And even before that, Sumerian. I have stuff that traces back there. I feel like maybe I was there. I know people are going to say you're crazy. And you know how my belief is, guys. You know how I believe. And that's just what I think. You don't have to agree with me. You can think whatever you want. I know people are going to have their opinions, but I don't really care. So bear with me. Like I said, I'm very congested. So it's hard for me to talk. I'm trying to save my voice as much as I can. I actually lost it a couple days ago, guys, and it sucks. This crap sucks. I hope I don't want it on anybody. The Claritin feels like it's starting to kick in. Like I took it about half hour ago. I'm starting to clear up my nose a little bit, so that's good. I'm so sick of sneezing. God, it's bad. But back to the story. I don't want to keep rambling because I do that sometimes. I start rambling and I start talking, and sometimes we both do. Sometimes we get off subject. But yeah. Now, do I think these things are real, and is it a possibility? That's the other part of this show. Probably not. Like I was saying, I don't believe it. And I'm not saying it's impossible. A snake lady that's rolling around and turns people to stone. I don't believe it. If it's real, it could be. It's not impossible. Like I said, all stories has some kind of truth. It's kind of like a revenge thing. Like she got raped and she got punished. The woman got raped and then got killed because the man claimed that she. What do they call that? Back then, they claimed that because he didn't want to get caught for raping her, so he claimed that she cheated on her husband, so they killed her or hanged her or stoned her to death because back in that day it was illegal for you to cheat on your wife. Cheat on your wife or your husband, you could die from that. It was a offense, especially with the church. And you got tortured, you got hanged, you got stoned. Either beaten in public. It was messed up what some of this stuff is. Probably what happened to her. And if it really happened, I think there's probably a story on this. And what I think probably happened was they added to it with the whole Medusa thing. And it probably was really a story, but not with the whole how she turned into stone, people into stone, and turned into a snake woman with a gorgon. That's what they call them, a gorgon. That's what she was. And I think she's even in the Kratos series, God of War. I think you got to kill her in there too. One of those. I haven't played that game in so long. I know the original ones. The newer ones is all Nordic. So that's another thing. Let's do a show. I want to do some show about Nordic mythology down the line. Like I said, these shows always lead up to something else, guys, and something else we can do. And it's just for you guys to do something different. We always talk about ghosts and goblins and werewolves, and this is the Halloween month, so we're going to be doing some horror movie shows soon, or maybe not horror movies, but spooky stuff for you guys, because I know you guys enjoy that. So I'm going to try to do some spooky stuff. I'll get with James. We'll start doing some shows about Halloween kind of stuff to scare you guys, and Friday the 13th. Maybe the next show we'll do, I'll talk about Friday the 13th and other horror movies. I'll talk to James, see what he thinks on that, guys. Like I said, I'm trying to keep my voice. But no, I don't think she was real. I mean, again, it's not impossible, but I don't think she really existed. I think that was more mythology. But it was a cool story. What happened to her wasn't cool. It was pretty fucked up, I think. But, hey, Poseidon's always been kind of an asshole. Like, he's in Percy, and he's in, Jason and the Argonauts. Actually, Perseus, it's weird, is like, in the Clash of the Titans, he's Zeus is his dad. And in the TV show, he's not. It's Perseus. And Poseidon's his dad. So it's just weird. And his uncle's Zeus. It's the opposite in both. It's kind of weird. I didn't understand that one. It's kind of different. I don't get what the thinking of was that. Whatever. I guess there's an argument it was either or. So check it out, guys. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'll throw it over the ear. James, like I said, I don't want to waste my voice, and I've been. So, like always, leave your comments. Let us know what you think. We always want to hear your feedback. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of time to do the show. I've been fighting this off and on crap that I've been talking. I'm having issues. Couldn't even talk last week, really. So, I would love to hear what you guys say. Like I said, don't always argue. We don't want to fight with anybody. We're not trying to prove anybody wrong or beliefs. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode on Parax Radio every Sunday nights and every Tuesday nights for the Best Of show. If you guys want to watch us on Parax Radio, listen to us at 9 Pacific, 12 Eastern, technically Sunday night, Monday morning. And on the Best Of show, it's 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 Pacific. You guys want to follow us on YouTube, go ahead. You go James Hershey's YouTube page. Subscribe. If you guys want merchandise like shirts and stuff, you can go and order it, and we'll tell you where to go. Check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, and Parax Radio, guys. It's Halloween, guys. Well, it's almost Halloween. It's October, guys, so get ready for that wonderful holiday. It's my favorite because I got married on Halloween. And it's also the Friday the 13th in October, so double the fun. So I hope you guys had a great summer because it's over. And excuse me, guys, I've been fighting allergies so bad for the last 2 weeks. That's why I haven't been doing the show, but I finally got to do it. I sound a little bit better now. But I hope you have a good night, Misfits, Sugar Ladies, Monster Lovers, and Demon Hunters. I love you, and blessed be. And have a good night, motherfuckers.
Thank you, brother. Well, that's it, y'all. That is the story of Medusa, the actual story of Medusa. This is the first show in our Halloween month. I don't have any idea what the rest of the shows are going to be this month, because we're kind of doing a thing now where I do a show, Old Boy does a show. So this was my pick this week of Medusa. He was sick the last couple weeks, so we haven't been able to do it. So this is the first one that'll start it off. He'll pick something next week, and then we'll go back and forth till the end of time, basically. But that's how we'll do the October thing. So whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be interesting and fun. I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know down in the comments section when this hits YouTube what you all thought of it. Let me know what you think of the story of Medusa. It's kind of messed up, man. It's messed up, and like I said earlier on when I was talking, I think it's scarier than the actual myth that you get from the Clash of the Titans and the modern interpretation of it. I think the actual lore is a lot scarier because, yes, Medusa's not a monster, but it's scary to think of a creature, a being that has that kind of power, that can just victimize you and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And it's also heartbreaking because you imagine the pain and the sorrow and the helplessness and the panic and the fear that she must have felt. Not just in that moment, but from then on. You know, I mean, that feeling probably never goes away for her. And as I imagine, probably for most women that go through it, it doesn't go away. At least not for a long time. And that's heartbreaking. You know, that really, really hurts me. Because nobody should have to go through that. Nobody should have to feel that. So, in closing, as I wrap this up, I want to thank you guys for hanging out like you always do. And anyone that has actually been through something like this, I mean, obviously, Poseidon didn't come victimize you, but if you've been a victim of sexual assault or any abuse like that, my heart goes out to you, man. I love you. I'm sorry that happened to you. And I'll keep you in my prayers, you know. It just sucks, man. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and it breaks my heart. I mean, I'm kind of sad talking about it. You know, I've known this myth for a long, long time. It's always bothered me that they kind of took this amazing myth and they cheapened it by making her a drive-in monster, you know. It just kind of sucked. But I debated whether or not I wanted to actually share this story because, and I'm sure other people probably have. I'm not saying I'm the only person in the world that knows this. It's available for anybody that wants to look at it, can look at it. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that actually study Greek mythology that know the actual myths of Medusa. But I was kind of torn whether I wanted to talk about it because it's just heartbreaking. And it really upsets me when I think about it. And let me know how it affects you guys, what you guys think. But as always, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll catch you on the next one. Till I speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.